What's up, everyone? We are back here. It is Wednesday night. It is time for Mythic Conversations, the only Mythic Conversations happening this month. I took the last few weeks off between traveling for ZoloCon, and then last week was my birthday. So, by the way, thank you for all the birthday wishes from everybody. But I took the last 2 weeks off, and I'm taking the next 2 weeks off, right? Because next week, I will be traveling to Michigan for MuskeeCon. And then after that, I'm going to be traveling for ToyLanta, two of my favorite shows to do. I'm sure we're going to talk about both of those shows tonight with my special guest. Coming back to Mythic Conversations, been a regular guest. Always enjoy bringing him on to have a conversation with. Please welcome Big Dub.
Hey.
How you doing?
Different. I'm not with you in person.
Yeah.
Our last conversation. I think that was our last conversation. And then one right after that. We had back-to-back weeks. That's right.
That's right.
A record-setting appearance. Yes.
And it was such a big conversation, we couldn't get it all in. So we had to regroup the following week.
That's right.
Well, speaking of big conversations, obviously everything, what's dominating the Legions conversation right now is, of course, Beyithirr. The dragon figure that debuted at G-Con and Legions Con last year. It's finally here. It's finally available for crowdfunding pre-order. We spent a lot of time on the afternoon show talking about it, answering a lot of questions. Chris did some really interesting stuff, showing some videos and pictures from the factory. Certainly, happy to answer some questions tonight as well. But we did a lot of that this afternoon. So, Dub, I just kind of want to geek out about it a little bit with you because, you got to see this in person, obviously, at Legions Con, but a lot has changed between Legions Con and now. Obviously, some of the information's out there, like the price of the figure, the funding goals for the figure, all of that is now public. But we've also shown all of the stretch goals. And in some cases, they're not even stretch goals. There's some figures that come out of the box with these figures. So I'd love to talk about some of those things tonight as well.
Yeah. I'm so I have gotten my pledge. It's not my money's in, my order in. That's the right way. My order in. I wanted to. I believe very much in this, and as you know, Tolkien and all of that is my very, very initial fandom. My desire for fantasy things came from older sister Kim, who you met.
Yep.
Read me The Hobbit when I was 3, and from that point, I'm like, well, I need Smaug. I have to have Smaug. And over the years, that the name of that dragon changes, but I've never had a big dragon. Yep. So when it was, in fact, Natalie has the "Where's the Dragon" shirt that we have. So I wanted to be an right away backer. However, when you announced the time, we had already bought tickets to see Mickey 17, which I will recommend. That is a crazy movie, but recommended.
Okay.
And so I had to wait until I got home from the movie to order. So I wasn't right away, but I was that first evening. We did get our order in, and cool. I'm very, very, very excited for it, and I'm happy with the progress it's making, and I think we're well on our way to getting things funded. Where we halfway, a little bit over halfway.
Yeah. So let me bring that up because actually, so what we've been doing is, this is not a Kickstarter. Let me share the stage here. This is not a crowdfunding that's using actually Kickstarter. So Kickstarter, so often, I can't even find where it is. Hold on a minute. I'm struggling with some challenges here. It's not letting me share the way I wanted to. StreamYard can never be easy, can it?
No, I've been streaming more regularly and trying to learn more about StreamYard, and I'm like, why do I have to do it this way?
Yeah,
I say that frequently.
It's like everything I'm doing, it's like I do it the same way week in and week out. Why all of a sudden is it not working for me? But we'll figure it out. We'll get there. But to your point, yeah, I think we're doing very good. So this is not a Kickstarter in the sense that it's not using Kickstarter. So many people, they equate Kickstarter and crowdfunding as one and the same. So, I mentioned this previously, but we decided to do this outside of Kickstarter solely for pricing reasons. Kickstarter, it's a service. You pay for that service. That would have had to have gotten taken into account in the pricing of the figure. So by doing this on Store Horseman, it allows us to keep costs down and therefore, not add it to the price. But for a campaign like this, and again, Dub, thank you so much for getting your order in right at the start to help us get this towards funding and towards stretch goals. Because what's amazing is that we are over 1,000 sold right now. Just as of this morning, it was a little bit under 1,100. For a campaign that has no real incentive to back early rather than late, other than to say you've done so and you've kind of done your part already, to already be 50% funded, 50+% funded, less than a week in is actually pretty darn impressive, I think.
Yeah, I think when the dragon arrives, Beyithirr arrives at whatever the following con is, whatever that is. I know we all hope that's a Legion's Con next year. That'd be great, but I may have to get a day one backer shirt made or something like that. Maybe Jordan and Van can get a new purple heart that has day one backer that we can hand out.
Matt Stein with a super chat saying, what's up, boys? Let's talk some dragons. Yes, absolutely, Matt. That's what we're doing. Matt is someone else we're going to see down at ToyLanta.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so looking at this chart here, this is something that we're doing every single day. So unlike Kickstarter that has kind of like real-time stats, what we do is every single morning, it's literally the first thing I do when I wake up. Actually, the second thing. The first thing is I grab my coffee. The second is I fire everything up. I update this graphic to reflect the most recent pledges, the most recent purchases, and where we are. So this is what I posted this morning, and this information is every single day on Source Horseman. There is a news item right there that's got this. You click that, I just update that. But as of this morning, we were just shy of 750 of the Fiery Breath Pack. I'm sure with today's sales, that's going to be over, and I'm going to get to highlight that milestone as well. The Epic Wings pack was at 6 and change. And once again, the Beyithirr was at just under 1,100. So really, really good start. This particular chart, today I posted it and I had a really cool person reach out to me on Instagram with a piece of feedback saying like, hey, I think some people are thinking that you have to get 4,000 on the dragon because it's a meter, right? So some people were thinking it's got to be full before it actually funds because they haven't been following. So I was like, that's actually a really good point. So that's why I added those designations so we can see that we're actually a lot closer to that funding than if you thought it was actually 4,000.
Yeah, that's very helpful because even, you do the quick eyeball, especially because you post these usually around 6. Yep. You do the quick eyeball test and you're like, oh, that doesn't look great. But you don't realize, it only has to get part of the way up that for the original dragon. Of course, we all want the full thing and beyond to be. Of course. And I think it's, I can't remember the guy's name, but there you mentioned on 4 o'clock, but somebody does a great service for the toy community that always charts and maps all of the various crowd funds. Yeah. Yep. I live in that world and a great deal of my day job, as you know. And one thing that I would post to the general whoever is watching this, that I think you're going to see that this doesn't follow similar graphs as others because it's a very different thing. It's not on, so things that are on Kickstarter are getting caught in an algorithm sometimes and promoted or not promoted or whatever. That influences things. But also there are various reasons that people pledge a whole bunch at the beginning and a whole bunch at the end and not much in the middle. That's not what we're seeing right now with this. We're seeing pretty consistent each day growth. And I think a lot of that's people get their money together. They sell a few things, whatever, they get payday. Yeah, Brian, thank you. It's really kind what you do. So I think we're going to see very organic growth as opposed to two big spikes. And I think that's good. Of course, we all would like this to wake up tomorrow and we have all our figures, and that's great. But I'm very encouraged by that because I think, we'll see a little bit of bumps Fridays, but also as people get their stuff sold. And you want to know, here's, I think, a good comparison point. The Horsemen are doing this on their own website versus Kickstarter. The same reason that a lot of us sell our figures in the Cabal instead of on eBay. Because you can give a better price. You're not giving eBay 20% of it. Same thing.
Yeah, I'm really enthused by where we are out of the gate. I'm also actually really excited about how the add-on packs are doing, because the add-on packs right from the get-go were a bit of a challenge. Someone earlier posted a comment that said, Christopher said, lots of good info on the Euro Legions podcast. If you haven't watched, listen, you definitely should. Plug for those guys. They had me on earlier this week, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback on that. But one of the things I mentioned on that particular show was that when we got the pricing for those add-on packs, like for those individual pieces, and we realized how expensive they were to produce and what we therefore had to charge for them, we were really apprehensive. We weren't sure how those were going to be received. We're already seeing that in the campaign. There's a lot of people that are saying, oh, those should have been free stretch goals. That would have been awesome. It just wasn't feasible because of the price. You can't add a stretch goal that's, $150 item. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So that's why what we decided to do was, by adding the figures into those packs from the get-go, we said, hey, there's a way that we can add a good amount of value, but not a lot of cost. It'll cost us only a little bit to add something super cool. At Legions Con, those kind of crispy figures, those burnt figures that were in the cases, those were created just by the Dio team to have some stuff in there for the Dio. They were never intended to be released figures, but they got such a good reaction that throwing some of those in and doing the Burning Night, throwing some of that stuff in with those packs really, I think, has helped make them a much more desirable purchase. And I'm thrilled to see how those are pacing along with the Dragon itself.
Yeah, I think if I had any hesitation in terms of broad success, I was like, it may be hard for alternate packs to get in, because the reality is that's once you get to the full thing, there are not a lot of us that have room for the base. Forget if it was $1. There would be people that say, I can't buy that. Like, where am I going to put this thing?
Yeah.
But with the full thing, I had to get the tape measure out, and I'm still not sure that it's going to fit, or I want it to fit with the full thing. But I like so the what is his name, Sir
Benegarr?
Benegarr.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's an unbelievable. I know we'll talk more about that. It's an unbelievable. But the other three, I like that they are diorama style things, because the nature of this, you're not going to get it down and play with it all the time. You're just not. Like, you're no one is. You're not going to take that. You're going to put it. You're going to find its home, and you're going to put it there. And how cool that you could have the fire breath and a couple victims and the burning night. And I'm excited to kind of have that full spread. I think that would be a cool thing. I know the prototypes are hard to handle, but like even seeing what that burning night looks like with the flame, those kinds of things are pretty cool. I think that's going to be a fun setup, even if it's on the kitchen table. I know Robo has said it's going on the kitchen table, and that's his wife's. Decree, which is great. I will share that story. I don't know if I ever shared that with you. When at Legions Con, the morning after that we that you revealed the dragon, and I was picking Robo up and bringing him into the show, and he was a few minutes late, and he said, sorry, I was arguing with my wife over the dragon. I'm like, oh, I mean, I think a lot of us are probably going to have some version of that conversation. He goes, no, it was her saying, we're getting 2 of these because I need my own. And I'm like, I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, he's serious. That was a real conversation. Said she loves dragons and she wants it on the kitchen table, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this before. I do think the dragon has the potential to go well outside of the Legion's, fan base. Obviously, it works for a number of other toy lines and collections, and there are just people that genuinely love dragons. I'm doing a number of different interviews over, the rest of the month. And I'm going on some of the regular Legion shows, but I'm also trying to get outside of those to some of the more general toy shows as well, to have some of these conversations and answer some of the questions. Because, even though we're trying to answer as many as we can on shows like the afternoon, if you're not in the Legion's community, you're not watching that. So I do think that there's a lot of crossover potential there for that.
Yeah, I think you said it. I think you said this on the 4:00 show that it's it's easy to get stuck in the echo chamber of positive and negative that live within the very niche group. But there is opportunity to broaden this to folks that don't even know what 4 Horsemen is. They don't know
For sure.
They would sure like a big dragon. Like that sounds cool.
So we got a super chat from Curtis. I have room for the base, and we'll have that base one way or another. I mean, a number of people have asked for that particular base, and I mean, as much of a challenge as we're having with the size of this box and the shipping prices, that base is a gigantic, even if it was made out of something that was more lightweight, and I don't know that it could be, the dragon is about 35 pounds. So for something to be able to support that, you're not going to be able to do like a super thin blow mold or something like that. Regardless of what you would make that base out of, it would be a package probably similar to the size of the dragon box already. So it would add because I heard some people say that would be a great stretch goal. It just, from a fulfillment standpoint, it would add to the nightmare we're already living.
Yeah, I think I wanted to say on the 4-ish thing, we talk about the dimensions, but practically, folks, think about it. It has to fit in a truck to take somewhere. The less of these that can fit in a truck, in a container, in a whatever, the more expensive it becomes, because that's another person, another route, another whatever. And huge things. I mean, even I won't say the name, but on a different crowd-funded recent campaign, they had some issues with damage to the shipping boxes. Yep. The shipping box is humongous. Yep. To ship that is a pretty significant expense just to ship the box. Yeah. I'm not sure how they're going to deal with that. That's not what this conversation is about. But you just think about it and you go, I had to recently. I didn't have to. My buddy, all of our buddy, D Amazing. I had a diorama that he wanted to use. It's huge. It's the one from Joe Fest last year.
Yep.
And I basically got to the largest box that UPS would accept. They would not accept, and FedEx would not take it. And then you send it to the post office, and the amount was unbelievable. Yeah. It was going to be $380 and it only weighed 7 pounds. Yeah, but it was huge,
all size.
Yeah, it's just the nature of it. It stinks for all of us. That's for whether you're buying toys or not. If you're shipping something to your mother-in-law, it just stinks. It's not good.
USPS is at the point where it's really good for small parcels. I love USPS for small packages, but when you get into the oversized packages, just the way they calculate their overages, it doesn't make sense. The price just absolutely skyrockets.
Well, if you look at
a big giant dial like that, it's going to be a fortune to try to ship something like that.
Well, the mail truck, the mail vehicle that brings my mail here is the same one for the last 70 years, it looks like. And the boxes that you showed a maybe 2 sets of those could fit in that mail truck. That's it. So what's he going to do? Just keep going back and forth to the post? That's not realistic.
So I have that picture here. So this is a picture we showed on the afternoon show, and I requested this. So knowing that shipping has been one of the kind of gotchas in this for so many people, I wanted to illustrate, because saying Beyithirr's 35 pounds, like we can all kind of get a sense of how much 35 pounds is. But when you get measurements, it's really hard to visualize that. So building boxes that are the sizes of what these would actually be. And we're still figuring out exactly how these are going to be packaged, but there's going to be like the plastic protective corners on the inside of the outer box for the inner box. This is a high-end item. We're going to go that extra mile, of course, to protect it. But all of that equates to a bigger, heavier package. So seeing these 3 boxes, because that's one of the challenges with this as well, is when you look at a lot of crowd funds like the sail barge or, the Sentinel or any of that stuff, the Ghost, it's one package. It's one item that you are shipping. So when people look at that funding, they're only looking at that one item. With this, because we did the add-on set separately to give options, it is genuinely 3 items. So it's 3 items, it's 3 packages, all of which are huge.
Yeah, and if you tried to put it all in one package, it would probably become a freight package. It would be even more potentially.
Yeah,
the wings, is that the bottom one? Is the wings there?
Yeah, the bottom one is the wings.
Yeah,
because the Epic wings, not only, they're a good size, but Eric showed this really well on the live stream. When you kind of flip it around, when you look at the side view, you can see the way the musculature is, because it like fans out. The wings are not only long, they're kind of deep as well. So to lay those 2 wings, the only way to pack it is to lay them on top of each other.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would be like just incredibly, incredibly long if they were side by side. So you got to lay them on top of each other, but that's what ends up making that really, deep piece as well.
I would also encourage, one of the things I found really interesting on today's Force show was when Chris was going through and showing a lot of the pictures they had taken of molds.
Yeah.
And I think specifically because, look, everybody knows that regardless of what it's spent on, $550, whatever your total ends up being, that's a lot of money for all people, for all people on Earth, a lot of money. And to have I think some people like to have an understand, what am I spending my money on? Why does it cost so much? That's fair. It's all understanding. One of the things that really struck me was when he showed the mold of Frankenstein's coat. And we all know how not big that is, comparatively speaking, to what we're talking about. But the mold itself is like the size of his leg. It's huge.
Yeah.
And so to think about what's going to have to be created for these, hopefully we'll get pictures of those one day. Yep. You can see the things that probably are static pieces somewhere.
Yep.
It's just a lot. It's not it's a very ambitious project. I think once in a life, people thought that the Sentinel, which I agree is a great item, is once in a lifetime. Absolutely. And they already have another big Sentinel coming out. It's not the same thing, but there's already another one. This type of event is, we get the opportunity to be a part of something that no one has dared to do at this level of complexity. I think when you think about the paint and so I am proud to have been a backer, and I'm proud. I am confident this will succeed, because I think it's just cool to be a part of that. I think I posted. I wasn't, I was not in the know at the initial Kickstarter. My time started with the Advent of Decay, and then kind of here and there and in and out. But I would have loved to have been to be able to, like you, to say I was there, because that's a cool thing to be a part of, because it's creating a whole world, and this is a big part of that world.
So I'll bring this photo back up because it's relevant for, we got Cookie in the chat here pointing out that those are some sexy boys in that photo. And we also have Joe, number of members of the team in the chat tonight, who points out, astutely, that people are asking about all of it being together in one box, and it would be like having an oven delivered to your home. It's a good analogy. It's about how big it is.
You go in other place. I mean, the place we're all familiar with. There are items on Big Bad Toy Store that do not qualify for their $4 shipping. That specifically say this is a big item. I'm going to have to charge you shipping. Yep. You can't put it in your pile load. I'm sorry. That's just part of it. It's not. Doesn't mean it's great. It just is part of it. It's you get a car shipped to you. You're going to pay for
it. That's it. We did have a question, super chat from Aztec Warrior. Will there be more dragons in the future? Well, obviously the focus is getting this dragon funded first. But if this dragon gets funded, yes, it's fair to say that we're not going to just bury this tooling and never use it again. However, speaking about burying tooling that we're never going to use again, Sir Benegarr is only going to be produced as part of this campaign should he be unlocked. Not only that, but if you look right on this page here, it's worth noting that it says this figure is a stretch goal, it's going to be unlocked, and it says that the Sir Benegarr helmet and pauldrons used on this figure will not be used outside of the Beyithirr pre-order, adding to the uniqueness of this champion of Beyithirr. So that was one of the things that Eric had mentioned, or Eric had decided that he wanted to do is, he sculpted this helmet and these pauldrons after Legions Con last year. So when we realized that we had to rethink how we were going to approach this campaign, how we were going to approach this item, and he knew he wanted to do this Dragon Knight character, he liked the idea of really using it as a special thank you that is part of this campaign for those who back the dragon. And of course, we've seen all the requests that, do we know how much money we would make if we just sold Sir Benegarr separately? The reality is that's not the point here. The point isn't just to make some figures, and this goes for all the other stretch goals and figure add-ons. The point isn't to make a bunch of figures and sell as many as possible. The point is to make as many dragons as possible, because we've sold as many dragons as possible. So all of these are very much created towards that goal. They're only going to be part of this campaign. They're only going to be offered at this particular time with these packages.
Yeah, Sir Benegarr, maybe make sure Natalie's not listening. That created a second dragon order in my particular order. I do have two dragons on order, and more out of the. I don't know what I would do with the second one of these, but I want to have an option. Whether it's a cool thing to get the studio to sign one in pack, because I'm going to open one. There's no doubt about that. Whether it is maybe I think the only non Etheron's dozen is Etheron. I do not have that. Can I use that to trade? It's going to be a desirable item.
It's absolutely going to be a desirable item for sure.
So and I love it's just a beautiful figure. I think maybe one of the best in terms of looking at this type of early display that we've had so far with the shield and the shield plug-in and the lance, and we've got to get this thing unlocked. We have to the full array.
Yeah. So this is the unlock at both 2,500 and 3,000. Laura's asked this question a few times. Will Sir Benegarr have a gap at the waist if the clothes unlock? I would suggest that Sir Benegarr is probably going to be very similar to the figures in the Necronominus wave that have the soft goods. So if it's got that little bit of a gap because the longer kind of waist peg to accommodate the soft goods, this one will probably have that as well. So we do have Vern in the chat here, and he's saying, can Big Dub adopt me? He doesn't have to pay me. I will just freely dust his toy collection.
Come on, Vern. You're welcome. Well, you're definitely welcome to dust.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe that's what we'll do before ToyLanta. Everybody can take a turn to dust.
So this is the full build. So let me find the photo here. So this is the base Sir Benegarr. And, again, looking at this, obviously we want the full kit. We want the soft goods and everything. To us, that's clearly Sir Benegarr. But this is all, I mean, it's, you would appreciate there's math behind all of this. I had mentioned previously, both at ZoloCon this weekend and on the Euro podcast, the way that we approached stretch goals for this campaign is, if we had a certain number and our unit cost went down a little bit, we would add something into the package that roughly equated to that savings we got. So our unit cost remains the same throughout the campaign, but as we get into those higher tiers, we're actually giving more value for what you're getting, as opposed to when we get price breaks, our margins just increase and we make more money. That's the way we approach this. So with Sir Benegarr, we couldn't unlock him with everything he had at that 2,500, but we didn't want to have an unlock at 3,000 only. Like, we felt that was too big a gap to not have an unlock. So putting Sir Benegarr, as we see here, at the 2,500, and then doing everything else that gets added to him at the 3,000, that felt like the right answer here.
And the parts are the head, the dragon head, and the pauldrons that are will never be reused. Is that true of the shield?
No, the shield is something we will reuse. That's a large piece and stuff, and we've already got some other thoughts of how that could be reused. So what we're talking about, and we're also not talking about this unmasked head as well. That unmasked head, which we are seeing for the first time here, that is something that we will reasonably see again. But what we're talking about is the helmeted Sir Benegarr head and the pauldrons that he's got here with like the dragon wings on them.
That's a faceplate, like the current one in Necronominus right now. Is that a faceplate in the chainmail there?
It is. So the chainmail is the exact same chainmail that you see on like Sir Elijah. So that would be swappable. Someone was asking if it's a swappable faceplate. It absolutely is. So you could actually, that's the same chainmail that comes with the Burning Knight as well. Yeah. So you could, if the Burning Knight and the Burning Knight upgrade kit gets unlocked, you could even put the Burning Knight skull face in there.
Yeah. For when he is, ready to unleash the dragon's fire, maybe he Ghost Riders up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, this is a great figure. I mean, getting to that 3,000, that's obviously essential here. We've got a question. How am I feeling? Obviously we'll get to 2,000, but how are we feeling about getting to 3,500 on unlocking the Deluxe Knight? So what you see here is at 3,000, not at 35. If we get to 35, we unlock the Ashen Skeleton. But ultimately, I'm feeling good about all of the possibilities here for a couple reasons. Again, as I said, Dub, we're in a campaign that has just started. We're 5 days in, and there's no incentive other than bragging rights to pledge early. Even our normal pre-orders are very, very backloaded. We get a lot of orders that final week, and there's no reason to think that we're not going to see that here as well. And I mean, right now we're just doing some good old-fashioned marketing. We're just out there and we're hitting, like I said, I'm going to be on tour at all these shows. We're going on all these shows to talk to people, to answer questions, to spread the word on this. The fact that we're seeing gradual growth every single day, I think that's a very positive sign. So I'm still feeling very, very bullish that all of those stretch goal numbers are attainable at this point.
And if you're watching this and you would like to be the bragging rights person, right, early, but you don't have the pockets right now and you're saving or whatever, I will encourage. I did it, and I could have paid for it up front, but when I shop any Shopify site, which feels like 90% of what's on the internet these days is a Shopify site.
Yes.
If you create a shop account, which I think it almost creates it for you, I don't even know when I did this. But like if it brings you to a shop checkout, which you can make occur, shop finances things differently than what are the only options available through the individual retailer. So Shop Pay immediately presented me with 3 months, no interest, same as cash. 6 months, it was like $80 interest, and then 12 months was like $200 interest. Yep. But the first payment is not until April like 12th, and that was on day one. So it's probably even a few days beyond that now, because I'm sure it's like 30 days from the point. And it was, you know, I mean, I'm sure you qualify like anything else where you're taking a loan. I think it's going to a firm, but it doesn't take the money, and it's, you know, versus a lot of the pay in 4 options that are every other week. This is over monthly. So even if I looked at it, the drag, the all in, all of it, over 12 months with interest was a payment of like $97 a month or something like that for me, which sounds a lot more doable to many people than I got to front $1,000 today, because, you know, a lot of us have $97 on random things through a month. So I would encourage, because I know I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that, but I think it's available to anyone, at least in terms of trying to see if you would qualify.
And I am curious, and, you know, I'd love to hear some of this feedback from the community, whether or not our international customers are seeing that too, because that's one of the challenges that we had. You know, we didn't add the pay in 4 installments until earlier this year, or last year, actually. I think we added it. And it was one of those things where we looked at some different services, and, you know, I got to be honest, there was mixed results and mixed reviews for some of the third-party services that you can add. Going with the one that we did that is part of Shopify, integrated with Shopify, it was like, that made the most sense. But the downside was it doesn't work. It only works for US addresses. So again, do we do, you know, something cool for some fans, or do we ignore doing that at all because it can't be done for every fan? You know, we had to make the decision that, hey, I'm going to help where I can.
Yeah.
But I would love to know that if those kind of shop options that you're finding as well, if those do work outside of the US.
And it also, in Shop, you have rewards if you have an account. So like I immediately had like $21 in rewards that are same as cash. Like they just work like cash, like anything else. So that's, I only in the last like 2 years have paid attention to Shop, and I feel maybe it didn't exist to the way that it does now, but there's real things in there. There's all kinds of things.
Recon Rage is saying that when you use Shop, you get credit to use free on other items. He got 2 plunderlings with his Shop credit. So, you know, right there, not only are you going to have potentially some more payment options, but it's going to give you some essentially not money back, but credit to use elsewhere.
Yep.
So I did have a couple questions that I think are worth touching on here. So Ryan is asking, any discussions around getting a handset for Benegarr? That lance calls for a vertical hinge. I have been asked this question both publicly and privately so many times, and I have not yet answered. If I'm not answering, there's a reason why I'm not answering. I will answer this by saying, yes, there have been discussions. Brick Something is saying, Jeremy, since you're sort of the scroll keeper of the lore, can you share, however vaguely, how long you've known about Beyithirr and its order to inform how their existence impacts the larger story? So Eric and I began talking about the next arc for the Mythic Legion story, of which Beyithirr and the Pillars play a role. We started talking about that. I mean, a good 2 years ago is when, you know, we really started kind of seeing the end of the Rising Suns, or the Rise of the Dark Four. Like, as we started seeing the end of that arc, and we knew that the Rise of the Dark Four arc was ending, we sat down and started saying, okay, what's next? So you saw us do Ashes of Agbendor, which was kind of that little interim type wave. It was a flashback. It was modern stuff. Then you saw us do Reign of the Beast, which was also a flashback. That was very intentional. You know, we didn't want to go immediately right into, okay, well, one story is ended, let's immediately jump in. We wanted there to be a little bit of a palate cleanser. We wanted to be able to do stuff like we did with Reign of the Beast and get some of those characters out there. But the picture of what we were doing for that future storyline with Beyithirr and the Order and the Pillars, that's something that's been in the works for a couple years. But one of the great things is that we're so flexible, is even though we've had discussions and set the framework, some of the things that you're seeing were decided within the weeks leading up to this campaign. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's been, like, a lot of groundwork that's been laid, but still a lot of stuff that we're doing, as these things are coming out.
I would encourage anyone that's into the lore, if you didn't watch the reveal special at Legion's Con, you certainly go into the lore a little bit leading up to the reveal and which just seeing the crowd go wild for the dragon. And you guys just did the making of the dragon video, which features some of that too. That's
I mean, if you haven't watched that documentary that Brad Treadaway did, The Birth of the Dragon, it's absolutely wonderful to watch. I mean, especially if you were at Legion's Con and got to be a part of that, it's something very special. Those last moments where it shows the reveal at Legion's Con, I get choked up every time I watch it.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, I did. I think I saw a comment that someone replied to that said, "Is it true that there will not be a full mythic or cosmic wave going up for Order in April for immediately following this?"
So I did answer that. We don't typically reveal that stuff, but because I know the dragon is such a big, expense, people get worried about, okay, well, if I spend money today, I won't have money tomorrow. And it's a fair point. So what I said is, we do not have a full mythic or cosmic wave going up for sale in April. I'm not saying that there's nothing at all that may be on the plans for April. This is a very busy year. And I've said before, with us trying to manage all of these different lines. And by the way, as I say this, I know everyone thinks I'm telling you that there's a figure coming out in April.
Easter Bunny.
Read into my comments however you want. What I am definitively telling you is, you're not going to see a large wave purchase that it's in April saying, I just bought the dragon, now you're hitting me with this. We know this is a big one, so
yeah, there's not going to be a, hey, you need to have another $500 right now, or you're going to miss out on this opportunity.
No, absolutely not.
Regardless of what it is, anything in that situation.
Yes. Just checking the comments here to see if there's any comments that I need to address. Aztec Warrior, any updates on the map extension? To be honest with you, we've had so many other things going on. The map extension, it's kind of one of those things, like it makes a great social post when it's a slow news day, but we haven't had a slow news day in so long that we haven't really had time to get to doing something like that, right?
Is the dragon coming to ToyLanta?
That I don't know, actually. It's definitely not going to MesquiCon, but we are driving to ToyLanta. The problem with driving it to ToyLanta is, if we put it in the van, that's that much less product we're bringing. Like when we brought it to ZoloCon, because multiple people drove to ZoloCon, Joe Vassapolo put Beyithirr in his vehicle to bring it to Zolo, so it didn't take up truck space. So we're looking at what the inventory is, whether or not it's going to be there. Minimally, I do think that we're going to be bringing, like, the stretch goal figures to at least have those on display.
I hope we can make the journey. I think, because that'll be about 10 days before the end of the campaign, something like that.
Yeah,
something like that. I know that locally, I've heard, not just on the internet, there are a lot of people that are saying, I would like to see this in ToyLanta before. That's anecdotal, of course. But there are, that could be 6 people. But
I'd really love to bring it. If nothing else, I'm hoping to maybe bring, like, the head or something, so you can at least kind of see the scale of that. We'll have to see. People have asked if Beyithirr can stand on his hind legs. I will say it's doubtful, that he's going to be able to stand on his hind legs. Considering how heavy and awkward that's going to be, I would not plan that's going to be feasible.
This is very big. It's very large. It's having seen it in person and spent several intimate days with it at Legion's Con. It is, the picture does not do it justice. That is true in a lot of the crowdfunds. It's very much true in this. Like it's you see it and you're like, oh, that's big. Like it's and I don't mean that it's not in it shouldn't make you not want to have it. It's just things that you might think it can do. It's like, how do you get a piece of plastic to do that? Like that's it's not real. It's gonna be hard. Yes, Joe.
Joe is saying
I will have your choice of meat.
He is going to try to get it to ToyLanta. So we will see.
That would be great.
I mean, if I'm going to put my faith in somebody, it's Joe Vassapolo. It's definitely someone I would put my faith in. So Brian is asking any idea what shows I'm going to be on. So tomorrow night I'm going to be on. I don't know if the show is called Badass Reviews. I know it's Carlos. So he asked me to come on and have a conversation with him and a few people, but I can't remember if the name of the show is Badass Reviews or if it's like another name that they use. I know that I'm going to be on Adventures in Collecting next Tuesday. And then towards the end of the month, I'm going to talk with Wade from Unparalleled Universe. And right now I'm just making contacts with a handful of other shows. I have a few people that have reached out to me, and I'm reaching out to a few others to kind of book some additional appearances.
Tuesday Crew. Hopefully, if you get on Tuesday Crew with Wade, that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one I'm on is going to be a Tuesday because after this week I'm traveling. The next 2 Fridays I'm going to be committed to being at shows and everything. So that's going to be tough. So yeah, Toy Addicts Anonymous is Carlos's show. So that's the one I'm going to be on. So going back to kind of stretch goals and stuff like that. And right here. So Badass Reviews, it's likely Toy Addicts. Yep, absolutely. Ooh, there we go. And I'm trying to get rid of the comments. There we go. So the other stretch goal, earlier someone was asking about 3,500. And I said, that's where we get the Ashen Skeleton. This is one, again, something that was heavily requested because of the diorama stuff that we did at Legion's Con. But super cool figure. I mean, my favorite look here, Dub, is using the vampire head to kind of create a totally charred kind of, I just got left out in the sun type vampire skeleton.
Yeah, I actually will probably use this to go along with the other legion of skeleton builder 2s. If speaking of the post office, my graveyard nights are stuck in Atlanta post office hell for the last 6 days. But once I think I'll have a couple of these guys that'll join that. Because these guys they're great. I mean, that figure, one of the best figures that's been put out in a long time, as basic as it may be, it's awesome. Yep. And to have a different way, you showed all 4 different colors with the Maxilius. It is, it's amazing how different that color is from the way it looks. But you can do a lot with that stuff. I like this guy.
It's amazing how different these look, and none of them are like crazy. Like obviously, if we paint it purple or pink or red, that's going to look wildly different. But to have like 4 colors like this, all of which are kind of safe colors, and there still be that much variety is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's what's the orc is the other head?
The orc is the other head, yeah. So the 2 heads that are going to be on it are let me bring that back up. The orc and the vampire.
And the orc head is not, it's that side. It's not the one that comes with Greg's figure.
No, it's the one that comes in the All-Star 6.
Oh, yeah. Heads back.
Yeah.
Yep. I forgot that's Eminent too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that. So speaking of the graveyard skeletons also has the vampire skull in it as well. That was first seen in the All-Star 6 pack, but we're actually getting it in the Graveyard Skeletons first.
To tie it together, one thing I almost did. So I had all this shop cash from making my order, and I saw Sci-Fi Toys, who's also on shop, had the Graveyard Skeletons for $99.99, free shipping, no tax in my state from them. And if I had applied the coupon, I'm like, oh, I could get 4 more skeletons for $75. I'd already ordered more than one pack of those, so I didn't need more.
Yeah.
But I almost did. I mean, immediately I paid it forward like that.
So looking at these a little bit more again, I saw a comment from Eric Miller earlier. Everyone's talking about Sir Benegarr. It's super cool, but Eric was suggesting that this is the real like hit of the added figures, the Burning Knight. So this is one. While the charred figures, the Ashen Skeleton and Zombie, those weren't really a surprise, right? A lot of people, I think, expected those because of all the requests at Legions Con. But this is one that I think caught people by surprise. This is one that's a lot of fun and I think is going to make a cool addition to whether it's used in the diorama or whether it's used. I had mentioned that, is this a knight that is being, charred, is being heated up through that flame breath? Or is this a like Human Torch style character that can actually engulf himself in flames? Totally up to you, but very cool figure.
Is the flame piece separate from the sword, or is that sculpted onto the sword?
It's the separate. It's the same one that came with Beyithirr.
Yep.
Well, and with those heads, all these pieces, you can do a lot with a bunch of your other figures too.
Oh, for sure.
You can have lots of folks that have gotten debris, pieces of flame that have impacted them.
Well, I mean, obviously that flaming skull. I mean, we saw Emil do his Ghost Rider custom recently. Right there, those flame parts. Those are, you pop that on any knight body, and you've got that flaming skull. That's going to work absolutely amazing. Yeah, Albert calling it a fire elemental. Totally cool. I love that.
Yeah. That's, you pop that face out and put it on Benegarr, and then you've got, Demon Dragon Knight. I think that's very cool. That's in the upgrade kit, right? Or in the further stretch of that head.
Yeah, so you can look here. This photo shows what's in the upgrade kit. So, this was conceived as the main look where it's got the lower arms and legs that still show like the silver of the armor, and then it's going, kind of getting superheated. But I knew that people were going to want to potentially have this as fully translucent, and that's the kind of thing that you can't do. Like, you can't customize this to really be fully translucent if the parts aren't already there. Okay. So that was a suggestion that, hey, let's make the add-on parts the fully translucent pieces. So I think that offers another cool option for this.
Plus, that creates for Mr. Dirk to create a set of rainbow Burning Knights too. If they're all translucent, he can dye them.
Yeah,
like Magnons. Yeah, I like this a lot. This was very unexpected. I mean, even Benegarr gets the attention, right? I think rightfully so. I think I assumed there would be some sort of Dragon Keeper, Dragon Knight, Dragon Ride, something, right? Yeah. This is the one that I think was very unexpected for me, and I liked a lot.
And you mentioned Dragon Keeper. I saw a comment earlier about, any chance for a saddle. And it's probably the most requested thing we have for the dragon. And it's certainly something that we considered. There was even a point that Eric was going to start sculpting the saddle. And, two things kind of happened. It took Eric a lot longer than he had anticipated to sculpt the dragon. So by the time that he was done, it was like, okay, I need to move on to the Reign of the Beasts wave. Do we not do the saddle, or do I just spend more time? So there was just a very practical amount of time left conversation. But the other thing is, as we started talking more about Beyithirr and the pillars, I've said this before, that the minute you put a saddle on something, it's subservient.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's got a rider. It's like it's a pet, or it's a beast of burden or something. And in our lore, these are not the types of characters that would be ridden. These are god level characters, So for us, we said, well, yeah, there's the real pragmatic reason, but if it made sense for the lore, if it needed to be there, we would have found a way to get it in. But because the way we were leaning with this character was that it wouldn't have a saddle, the only reason for us to do it is to say, well, hey, Beyithirr in our canon doesn't have one, but we know some people want it, so we're giving it to you.
And their community will make one. There will be.
Well, we may make one.
Yeah.
Like, we may down the road make one. Even, like I said, if it's not canon, I'm not saying you'll never get a dragon saddle. If we are fortunate and we get this thing fully funded, I said earlier, we want to reuse some of these parts. We're going to make other dragons. Well, we've got to make them unique. We've got to do different things for them and stuff. So you could potentially see a saddle in the future.
I appreciate that, because I like the lore. Of course, almost every time I talk, so when's the book? We want the book because we want to read. But again, coming out of Tolkien, Smaug, the chiefest and greatest of calamities. There is no rider of Smaug.
No,
you die if you approach Smaug. That's it. I mean, and I think it. In the world of people that create dragon discussion. I read an interview with George Martin at some time, where he was asked who would win if Drogon fought Smaug. And he said, Drogon is a tamed servant of Daenerys. Smaug would annihilate him because they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
One is the story. One is a member of the story.
Yeah.
And the lore of Beyithirr, the little bit we know, but the rising up and why are there people? What has happened to my world? He doesn't have a keeper. Like, he's been asleep for a long time, or whatever he has been doing, hibernating. So I like that. But then having the door open of some little bonus item down the road is cool. I also am not sure when I think maybe the Earl Legions guys. I heard somebody. It may have been the Enablers. What would a regular Legion look like riding on top of this thing? It would be a very unusual. This is very big. It's very big. So I'm not sure how that would even look. But hey, I like Game of Thrones too. Dragon Riders are cool. Like, don't get me wrong. For sure.
I'm trying to see if I can. So I do have a photo. I want to see if I can bring it up. Well, while I'm looking at that, it's worth mentioning that. So the last figure that we'll look at, and again, this is another one of those charred figures. So this is the charred zombie. This is the one that Burning Knight comes by default with the Fiery Breath set. So I mentioned earlier that we added those in to provide some additional value to those packs right out of the gate. Similarly, we did the Ashen Zombie with the Epic Wing set. So right out of the gate, you've got some value there as well. The base zombie is what you see here. This is what you get as part of that package. And then if this reaches the stretch goal of 1,250, because 1,000 is the funding goal for each of the add-on packs. If we get to 1,250, we add in these accessory items. So you get that full build out. Couple alternate looks here. I love that head.
Yeah, I think I like the for the purposes of being charred by dragon. I think the zombie's cooler than skeleton just because there's still flesh.
Yeah.
The skeleton's the aftermath. The zombie is just one step below the Burning Knight, which I'm sure someone out there will put together a really cool stop motion. Is it Doctor Strange that does the thing where he strikes people and like they fall out of there? Yep. Somebody will put together some cool stop motion of the 4 unlockable figures in their various states of distress after being burned by Beyithirr. Something like that would be neat to see. I'm sure someone will do it.
So someone asked a question. Let's see here. Sig is saying, how did Bay go from noticing humans to having human soldiers? Beyithirr knows what humans are. he wasn't surprised by humans. He was surprised by those individuals, not just humans. There's more in, there's more in mythos than just human characters. But what Beyithirr was surprised about was not necessarily the kinds of races he saw. It was more where he saw them.
Ah.
So this is a photo we haven't shared yet that I'm going to share soon, but I think it's another photo. And I also like the pose on Beyithirr because the ones that we have seen previously, he's looking down a little bit more. So this one with the neck up a little bit, and he's not looking down as much. He's looking forward a little bit more. I know people asked if the head's going to go side to side. Chris showed a little bit of the articulation in the neck today and the ball on the head. So you will be able to get some movement in there. But again, seeing him compared to these characters in package, I think is yet another example of really how this thing is going to stack up. And I love that pose there, like that kind of very stoic. Just, we saw the one that was actually on the rock, but even minus that diorama piece, seeing him like this, I really gets me excited for my display.
That's all with that's base package head and wings there.
It is base package head and wings, and it also shows the clawed hand. So the clawed hands, those are going to come with the base package. We mentioned on the afternoon show, it's got two sets of front hands or front claws. It's got the fully flat ones for when he's on all fours, and then it's got the ones that have like more of the grip, the kind of power metal hands. But those hands can absolutely grip a character. Like you can put, we show him here stepping on a knight. You can put a regular standard Mythic Legions character in that claw and it will fit.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good picture because that pose is different. Like that accomplishes the certain way you might want to pose them without that base being necessary for somebody's home. I think that's also the way my dog looks when he gets a stick. He's proud of himself. He puffs his chest out.
Yeah, so I will be honest, I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to display mine. I know for a fact I won't use the flame. The flame is super cool, and this is just a personal, I've never been one that loves that like moment in time type look. I'm a very vanilla poser. The characters in my display cases are all at attention. I don't have a lot of battle scenes. I love them, but they take up more room and, space being what it is. So because of that, I understand why people like screaming faces and all stuff like that, but I tend to go more with vanilla poses of the character as opposed to moment in time. That being said, I really do like the fully open mouth. I think I love the articulated jaw. I love the fact that you get a different look fully closed versus partially open, but something about that, like just fully open mouth, the way it's sculpted with, the additional kind of emphasis on the jaw being like distended and everything. I'm really feeling like that might be the head and neck that I want to go with.
It's very expressive. It's certainly expressive for flame, but it could also be for communication even, or I agree. Like that was an essential. I don't know that I have room to have the flame coming out, but I will use that neck and head. I'm almost certain. Although I think this is one I will probably. I'm not good about changing out what things have. A lot of things go into the bin of heads and hands, never to be seen again. Mm-hmm. I do think this is one that I will, from time to time, change. Do a different display with.
I could see that as well. I'm going to get all the pieces, and I'm going to probably decide how I want to display it. So I think a lot of people know that I'm in the process of moving. I actually did the afternoon show from my new toy room back here tonight. I'm kind of doing an island type display, like in the display room. The one that I had here, I had that little cosmic kind of island. Because I have more yeah, because I have more room now, I'm going to have a much larger island, and it's
Five. So five pillars
well,
of
it's
you're going to set up.
my island is going to have, that's where the Sentinel and the Galactus is going to go, and all my big figures. That's where the Mondo He-Man's going to go, because it's a very large area, so it's going to be a couple different displays. But I'm going to be totally blunt about this. It is a placeholder for the dragons.
Yeah.
Like, that is going to be the place. Like, when the dragons are out, that is going to be where they go. So whatever I do, whatever I put there now, everyone on there realizes that they're just renting that space temporarily until Beyithirr arrives.
I have the place where it's going to go, and up there are a variety of things that I like that I'm not necessarily going to get rid of, but they're statues. And one of them is like all the way up a rooftop of 10th scale, like Spider-Man fighting various symbiotes.
Yep.
And I had to have a conversation with them the other day that, look, you guys, they've been there since I built the house. I'm like, you got about 18 months left, and then you're gonna have to make room. And you're gonna have to go somewhere else because there's a new roommate that's moving in. They may be shipped to someone else's home. You never know.
I've said this before. That's a healthy part of collecting, is culling the conversation and moving stuff, whether it gets moved into storage temporarily or whether it gets moved into a new collection. I think that's always healthy.
I just redid with finally opening, going all the way through Necronominus, and I didn't have room for her. I can't have all my legions like you. I don't think you have them all on display anymore. Well, now you don't have a lot at the moment, but I had to take them down. And what was interesting, it alludes back to what you were talking about with the more units sold, the more value you can put in a package. I had to take some things down, and a lot of things I took down were like original skeleton builders because, and that's where I needed room was in the. And it's just amazing the difference in what you're getting in the package for similar price now to then, or exact same in cases of some of the things that I took down. So it's. If anybody questions that, just move around some of your older figures and put a different one up or compare them. It doesn't mean the older ones are bad. It's just the evolution of the line is so visible when you handle your collection and move things around. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's most striking with the Templar. Like, if you grab an original Templar Knight and you grab a Sir Elijah and you compare those two figures, I mean, we already know that it's got the Valiant body, so you get that more range of motion. But when you add in the whole package, the unhelmeted head, the soft goods, the new weapons, like, it is just top to bottom such an incredible upgrade. And I've been thrilled to hear people share that sentiment without trashing the old figure, because you can have a better figure without saying the original is garbage.
Wow.
It's just, we've come a long way in 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people that have, including me, that have quite a few of those original Templars. And they're still, you can still arrange a display like that looks incredible. But like CJ posted all of his Elijahs with the helmets on that he had picked up today or yesterday in the Cabal. That looks incredible. This with all the soft goods and the kind of bejeweled helmets, and it's just a testament to the evolution of a thing. It doesn't mean that the earlier stages are any lesser than. It's just a different stage in the life cycle of something.
Yep. So Paul, when I was mentioning the island, saying like Chris Kahn's center display in his basement, absolutely. Like I said, I had a small one here, but I went to Chris's house a few months ago, and he's got a wonderful center island. And when I was at his house was right when I was looking for a new house. Like, I was right in the throes of that, and seeing his toy room really kind of got me juiced for what I would want in my new space. So I'm super excited to get it fully set up. Christopher asking, will there be a toy room tour again? Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to do that. Hopefully I'll have some people over to do like a Mythic meetup once I'm fully in there.
Pick me.
Super. Yeah, you're welcome. Super chat from Curtis saying, going to display my first one, which is Beyithirr, as a Granamere custom with my Mondu Motu. So that's pretty awesome. My second will be on a rock dial by Lone Wolf Labs So it looks like he's going to have that rock dial made by Lone Wolf. That's awesome. He does amazing work. I'm sure he's going to absolutely kill that.
Do you go into the granular details to see how many people are ordering more than one dragon? And right now, or do you just get your total? Like, I know you can, but have you
I have not
seen any humongous orders where somebody orders 5? Or I mean, I'm sure there's people that are doing it out of the purposes of going to.
Yeah. So I have not done so yet. I kid you not. I mean, there's so much going on right now. Like we always say that everything you see is only, I mean, this is the iceberg, right? This is the tip of the iceberg. What you are seeing is just a small amount of what is actually going on in the big picture, getting ready for what's next and what's after that and what's after that. So I haven't had a lot of time to really dive into some of that stuff. It's been more kind of addressing the most immediate things. And there's been so much chatter. There's been so many questions that's kind of dominated my time. But hopefully within the next couple of days, I'll be able to dig into some of that.
I thought John did a good job of setting you up on your conversation with the Euro guys, where he asked you when the legendary barbarian had been designed and put together, and you said like March last year, and he's like, "So guys, everybody imagine what's happening right now in the studio." That was very clever, because it's not just like, you could even just think Beyithirr, and you've got like ToyLanta coming up and MuskeCon and the exclusives in the book. There's all the stuff that we don't know about, which has to be relatively comprehensive to be running the business, not to mention the actual business and boring.
So much going on.
Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned ToyLanta, and I do want to move on to that. So I'm just going to quickly run through a couple questions, and I'm just going to like rapid fire answer a couple questions, and then I want to move on to ToyLanta a little bit. So we got one question saying, is mid-2026 the goal, or are we looking more for 2027? It's still premature. I mentioned this on the Euro show. We're more ahead of the game than we typically are at this point. But this is such an unprecedented like scale and level that I feel like we're ahead of the game, but I also feel like there's so much ahead of us. So it is still premature right now. 2026 is where we're shooting at this point. Eric asking, how much does the dragon weigh? About 35 pounds. Collector Kid, will members of the Order of Beyithirr be introduced in the future? Absolutely. We haven't seen all of them yet. And I think that's what I've got for questions so far about that. So moving on, I mentioned that next weekend I'm going to be in Michigan for MuskeCon with all of my friends from the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me podcast crew. Very much looking forward to that. That's next Saturday, and next Friday there's going to be a Mythic meetup at the hotel. The week after, I'll be flying into Atlanta once again to spend some time with you, Dub, because we are going to be at ToyLanta, and look what I have here today.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so Brett has shown this, and I'll solo layout. Brett, I believe, has already shown this packaging and stuff. Brett is the one that runs ToyLanta, but very, very cool packaging here, very different than the other kind of stuff we've done. Because this is something kind of new, right? This is not like something we've done before. So it's cool to have a really kind of new look for this ATL 25 figure. I'm super excited for this. It's interesting. I got this when I went to the studio for ZoloCon a few weeks ago, but in the kind of hustle and bustle of moving homes, I haven't even opened it yet.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I know Jordan and Van did a little a look at it, and I think Robo had a look at it. Some of those have got out there. It's a great looking figure. I had to ask Brett. I'm like, what? Hey, what happened here? Just hand me mine to look at. No, I'm just messing with him. But I'm super excited for it. There's a lot. I mean, ToyLanta is an important show to me, and I feel like I've been a part of helping it grow over the last decade. And, it went from something I went to by myself in like 2018 to now you see we have all kind of friends that come in, and that's outside of the Cabal folks and Legions folks. It's such a great gathering. But then even, getting to be a small part of seeing this happen, I think it's awesome, and it came out better than I could ever have imagined. And I'm so thrilled for, this is not a common thing. You've had 2 at ZoloCon and 1 at PowerCon, and that's all so far, I think, right? Of a show kind of dedicated to a show figure, I think. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
And
Legion's Con, obviously. We've always been hesitant to do exclusives. And, the thing that's tough is we get asked, like, every promoter wants us to do an exclusive. Like, we've had shows reach out to us about doing an exclusive for a show we've never even done. Wow. And it's like, no, that's not what we want to do. But on the flip side, when we build a really strong relationship with a show, we want to do something to add a little bit more fire to that. So PowerCon is the first one we did it for. It made a ton of sense to do it for PowerCon because we had been involved with PowerCon since day one. That was just kind of a no-brainer. ZoloCon was another one that made a lot of sense. ZoloCon was a little bit different, though, because ZoloCon, because Zolo World has the Warrior Beasts license. Yeah, I mean it was very different. Like with PowerCon, it was more like Val saying like, "Hey, blank slate, do whatever you want to do." He was like, "I really think some of this stuff would be cool." So that's why we've talked about Demistros kind of creating a character that was in the vein of those classic, cartoon and toy line villains. But with ZoloCon, it was like, I want to do Skullman. I want to do a Warrior Beast character. So that made a lot of sense. 2 great shows. This is going to be our 3rd year at ToyLanta, and we've just been so impressed every single year. I know Brett took it over last year. And I was a little worried because we had such a great experience that first year. So when you roll into the venue and find out, oh yeah, by the way, the guy who runs the show, he's not here anymore. It's somebody else. And when we found out it was Brett, who's already a Legions fan and knows us and knows what we're about, it was like, oh wow, this actually is going to be super cool. This makes a lot of sense. So, he's moving the venue this year. He's in a new location. Everything just kind of came together to say, hey, let's do something to promote the show in your move year and do all that. And then when he wanted to do something that had kind of more of a military feel to it, we had never done that. We don't have a military line. We have no plans on doing a military line, but being able to look at our existing library and say, well, how would we make a military looking kind of figure out of this? A lot of people are referring to it as like, it looks like a Space Marine. Absolutely. It's built with cosmic parts. So it was a fun challenge. And I think that the figure itself ended up coming out really, really good.
Yes. Yeah. I think the figure's great. I think it's going to be popular. And I have a level of pride. And I think those of us, whether you're in the Southeast or not, those that have been regular ToyLanta attendees, just like we're talking about the Dragon, you're a part of this. I mean, the reason that any toy company feels good about a show is because of the fan turnout and support, and not just with your pocketbooks, but with your word of mouth and coming to panels. We had a really good panel at ToyLanta last year, and a lot of that stuff. I'm very proud that the area has been able to support. Something like this happening. I'm going to certainly have one to open and play with, but I know they're going to have the grading company there. I'm like, maybe I'll get one and just immediately send it to, it's special. It's a special figure for me. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with my allotment that I'm sure I'm going to acquire, but besides that, I just think it looks great. I think it'll fit with a lot of different collections. And it does, whether it's lots of different brands you can incorporate this with, and even like if you wanted to fight Alien and Predator and those kind of things, it'll scale perfectly with that stuff.
Absolutely.
And the main makers of those.
Curtis pointed out that Purple Gang has a bunch of really good swaps on their channel as well. They mix it around with some Predator stuff as well. One thing I will point out, because there's been a little bit of confusion, and I think the reviews have gotten it right because we at least told the reviewers what they were looking at. So this is the base figure. This is the character ATL 25. Originally, this head, which I refer to as the Sentry head, was supposed to be in both the exclusive version at ToyLanta and the standard version that we're going to have later at Store Horseman. That second head, the one that's the science officer head, that was the one that was supposed to be the exclusive. They just got reversed. So the Sentry head that you see here, that the ToyLanta version has both of them. So if you get this at ToyLanta, you're going to get both helmets anyway. But down the road, when we do the standard version, instead of having the Sentry head included, it's going to have the science officer head. So basically this photo, I've got to update the website. This photo shows these items, that shield, that kind of stun baton. Those are both exclusive to the ToyLanta version, but also the Sentry head will be exclusive as well.
I'm interested when the standard version releases.
Yep.
I think those camo parts are going to be one that a lot of people are buying multiples of to harvest.
Yeah,
because that's quite a paint job. I'm not sure who it was that painted that, but it is a really, really sharp paint job.
So Sherry did the camo. Sherry does, really good with stuff like that. She painted all the camo. I'm 99% sure that Joe has answered that before. One thing to point out is that both versions, the standard and the exclusive, will have both sets of arms. So you can see like the fabric upper arms here. Originally, this figure was only supposed to come with the fabric upper arms, right? The bare arms that we see here, which everyone loves, once again, broken record, that's a Joe Vassapolo edition. So you can thank him at ToyLanta when you get this figure and you like this configuration. Joe's the one that threw those in and said, hey, I think we need to include these. And in true Four Horsemen fashion, he showed it to us. He didn't have to do much of a hard sell. We were like, yeah, that looks cool. Definitely going to include those.
Yeah, it looks great.
So if you are going to ToyLanta, this is going to be available directly from the ToyLanta team. This will not be at the Four Horsemen table. We have a lot of other stuff at the Four Horsemen table. And someone asked earlier, Phil said, just to clarify, at all cons going forward, the figures will no longer be discounted at Horseman prices. They will be retail prices. So retailer prices are retail prices. That's what we will be selling all new figures out at shows. So when we did ZoloCon just a couple weeks ago, all of the older stuff that we had was still at the older prices. So we didn't raise all the prices on some of that stuff. There were Ninians there were $40. We actually had a couple Valiant Knights. We actually sold all the rest of the Valiant Knights and all the rest of the skeletons. And when I say the rest, I think we had a case of each. But all of that was the original prices. We did not have Necronominus at ZoloCon. Our expectation is we will have Necronominus at ToyLanta because all of our shipping should be done by then. So we will start bringing it to shows. All of that Necronominus stuff will be at the retail prices. So you're going to start seeing new stuff come and it's at retail prices. And some of the old stuff that we're still selling at like the lower price, you're just not going to see it at shows because there's going to be that natural kind of progression of we can only bring so much. So we're not going to bring some of the older stuff because we need that table space for the newer stuff.
Well, and I know that there will be Necronominus for sale there because I know you'll have a retailer that is set up there that does have that, and retailer Street Day will have lifted.
Yep.
So they'll have
and they'll be selling them for the same price we are. There'll be no. The only advantage to buying it from our table is you get to come see myself and Joe and George and Cornboy and the whole
dragon.
You get to see the dragon. Hopefully the dragon.
The legendary barbarian, right?
Well, that is the other thing that we will bring there. So the legendary barbarian that we debuted at ZoloCon, that is our touring figure of the year. We are going to be bringing that to every single show. So we will have a number of those at ToyLanta. The plan is going to be that we're going to, because ToyLanta has like a Friday night, like kind of like early VIP stuff. They still have that this year, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're not going to sell them all there. We're going to have a small amount on the Friday night. We'll have more on the Saturday, and then we'll have some on the Sunday as well, because we want to try to make sure if someone can only come for one day, they have at least a shot at it, so we don't sell out. Now, what happened at ZoloCon is, they are going to be limited to one per person per time through the line. What happened at Zolo is we sold out of Barbarians by like afternoonish time on Saturday. And then the word kind of got out about the Barbarian. And on Sunday, they just sold out immediately. Like everyone in line wanted a Barbarian. So we had less to sell and they sold out. I would expect similar stuff at ToyLanta. We are bringing quite a few of them, but there's a pretty high demand and we only have so many for each show that we're going to be doing.
And I would, if you're a person going to ToyLanta specifically for that and for the exclusive, I would recommend buying the VIP ticket, because I don't think it's that much more than just the price of the. It includes the figure, and it gets you into that Friday. So it'll be there's way less people there. People, so it's. I would recommend that. Plus, it helps you get into some of the after hours silliness that's ToyLanta as well.
Friday's a fun night there. Like Friday, it's short, but there's like so much energy and so much activity. It feels like just everything is going on. I'm excited for this year. I know I really liked the old venue. It was like not a great place to have a show, but I think that's kind of why I liked it, because it was just a weird place to go. But there's also, I've been there for 2 years, so there's that kind of familiarity of, I know what to expect. So I'm going into this new one both like excited for what's going to be new, but also like a little anxious for, you kind of took my familiarity away from me. Yeah. But I heard that it's a wonderful venue.
It is the premier venue in the north part of the city, outside of the city. Like, it's very, very nice. It hosts a lot of the mid-level anime and those kinds of things that get tons of foot traffic here in Atlanta, as well as like Japan Fest, like a lot of cultural things are hosted there. So it's a very, very, very nice venue. Very nice venue. It will, the hotel, that's the Con Hotel, is a 2-minute walk through a parking lot to get there, but that is not the same thing as being in the same room, right? I understand that, but it's I think it'll be a good time. It'll feel different because you can't just walk immediately to the elevator into your room, but I think it will. It's a great venue. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Are you gonna shop? Do you have anything on your shopping list?
The hotel's like across the street, right?
Yeah, but it's the street is the parking deck for the venue. You walk through it, and then you're in the parking lot of the hotel.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like a street. It's surface, not even surface roads, access roads for the venue.
So I'm not really shopping for anything right now. I'm always, as you know, on the hunt for a couple Shoguns. In my new house, I put the Shoguns where they go, and I've got definitely space for a few more. So I'm kind of like itching to fill that space, but I'm also trying
tagging you whenever I find Shoguns. I've been tagging you on Instagram.
Trying to,
I can take you right to those. I can take you right to them.
I do have to correct a mistake, or I should say an omission from earlier today. I rattled off just very quickly who's going to the show, and I forgot the birthday boy. I forgot Cookie. So obviously, if you're going to go to ToyLanta, the real reason to come and see us at our table is to see Cookie, to wish him a happy birthday, and to purchase something from Cookie. So yes, Cookie will be making the trip as well.
Cookie, are you coming for pulled pork on Thursday night? Hopefully.
Well, Cookie's a vegetarian, so probably not.
I can have pulled tofu. No, probably not that. Something. Can have something. We will have things.
I've been making a pulled. I'm not a vegetarian, but my wife doesn't eat a lot of meat. I've been making a pulled sandwich with oyster mushrooms, which she doesn't care for very much, but I think it's
long ones. Are they long?
No, oyster mushrooms, you like shred them up. I mean, they just look they look kind of like regular mushrooms, but I think it's a consistency. But you shred them up so it's almost like the consistency of like a pulled, like kind of like a pulled chicken or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, you're mixing it in with, barbecue sauce and coleslaw. So that's really what you're tasting anyway. I like it. Couple of final questions before we call it a night. Let's see. Hulk Smash was asking about ATL 25. Will this figure be available? For those who can't attend the con, yes, we will have that for sale later in the year on storehorseman.com, like we do with all figures that we sell at shows. The Headhunter figure we just sold at ZoloCon will also be available later in the year. When we were talking about the legendary barbarian, Paul asked, will there be a limit on how many you can buy at ToyCon? Yes, there will be a limit on how many you can buy at every single show we do this year. The limit will be one per person per time through the line. So what we do is we want to make sure that we can get through the people in the line. So when we do shows, people line up to be at our table. If I sell 6 to this guy and 6 to this guy and 5 to this guy, if I sell that to all those front people, I'm going to run out before I get through the line. So I don't mind if after you are done checking out, you get back in line to come and buy another one. That is fine. You got to get back in line because I've got to get through the people that are there first. And the same thing goes for vendors. Sometimes that shows because, when you're in the room, you'll have exhibitors come up before the doors open and they're like, hey, can I just buy stuff now? And we always say no. Our policy is we do not sell to people in the room before the people in line have gotten in. Unfortunately, that sometimes translates into we don't sell to vendors. That it couldn't be further from the truth. We're happy to sell to the vendors, to the exhibitors. We just can't sell it to you first before everyone outside. And that's simply because we had too many years of people in the room coming to the table right when the doors open. And then someone that's been in line since, 5 o'clock in the morning, they're first in line and suddenly they get to the table and there's 20 people in front of them. So that's why we have a policy of we got to get through the line out there. But as long as you get in the back of that line, I don't care if your badge says attendee or exhibitor, you are welcome to buy the stuff at the table. Dub, thank you very much for joining me this evening. I am super excited for the next couple of weeks. There's a lot going on in the world of Legions right now. I'm looking forward to it coming down to Atlanta. I've said this a number of times before, but the fans down in that region have treated us so incredibly well the last few years, and I'm looking forward to that once again. And almost as importantly, I am looking forward to Jack's Meat House.
Jack's Meat House. Did you see that Bojangles has also released a Bowberry chicken waffle right now for all the brunch fans out there? So it is the sausage Bowberry biscuit, but it's Bowberry baked into a waffle with chicken. We will get that Thursday.
Oh.
We're going to make a stop.
Okay.
That's the sausage Bowberry. I don't know. That we'll still be able to find it. We'll make sure you get your Bojangles. When I saw that, I'm like, well, this is what Jeremy's got to have this time around.
I'm certainly going to try that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the cuisine.
At some point, there's going to be a Legions Con exclusive. We've entered a naming rights deal with Bojangles, and we've got a little sausage Bowberry biscuit.
My mouth's watering just thinking about it. Okay, everyone. I will not be doing Mythic Conversations the next 2 weeks because I will be traveling. So I will be back 3 weeks from today, but that doesn't mean you won't get your fill of Jeremy. As I said, I'm going to be on a number of shows, so I will do my best to post the stuff in the Cabal or on my channels, on my Instagram, where I'm going to be, so you can follow. if you want to hear me talk more about the Dragon, more about what's going on. And of course, if you're going to be at MesquiteCon or you're going to be at ToyLanta, please come up, say hello. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks here on Mythic Conversations. Dub, thanks again. See you soon.
Yep. Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.